Welcome to the Proptech Hot Seat on iProperty Radio. I'm Cróna Esler and I'm delighted to be joined via Zoom today by Camille Donegan, the CEO of Airmersive. You're very welcome to the show, Camille.
Thank you so much, Cróna. Absolutely delighted to be here today to talk more about Airmersive, the voice of the Irish immersive technology sector, and specifically our upcoming event, Prism, the Immersive Technology Summit.
Okay, great. Well, listen, as you say, let's start right back at the beginning. If there's somebody listening or indeed watching online who has never heard of Airmersive, doesn't know what you do, what industry you're operating within, tell me the absolute, I guess, elevator pitch for Airmersive.
Perfect. Thanks, Cróna. So we actually started about 5 years ago. We were a grassroots volunteer-run organisation, and really there was 10 of us as the original founders of Airmersive, inspired by what had happened in the UK from the Immerse UK body set up by a fantastic Irish woman, Fiona Kilkelly, who went on to be our chair for 3 years. And we could see how Immerse UK in the UK had galvanised the industry there by bringing the community together and really believing that a rising tide raises all boats. So we completely agreed with that. We were over in the UK on trade missions from the British Embassy as a collective, and so we formalised Airmersive. I think it was 2020 we actually set up the company. And our initial activity, so this was a voluntary run organisation, we were all producers and had startups in the space. And in 2022, we got funding from SkillNet to benchmark the industry. And at that time, we showed a economic value of the immersive technology sector of 43 million. And there was about 750 people working in the industry at that time. We're in and around similar figures now, to be honest. Some companies have closed, unfortunately, and then we've had many new startups over the last couple of years, which we're delighted to represent and to see. So then in 2023, we were very fortunate enough to be working with Creative Ireland. So we worked on a significant project called the Immerse project, which was evangelising immersive technologies along the west coast of Ireland. And that was partnered with WDC, the Western Development Commission, and funded through the Creative Ireland Economic Action Fund. So we ran a series of 20 workshops showing the value add of immersive technologies, augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality for business. And then we brought those findings, we collated all of that findings into a report. And so we were on the radar through that project of, on the radar of government. And we got approached by Creative Ireland to support the roadmap for digital creative industries 2024 to 2026. So we're very proud to be sitting at the table with two government departments of Culture and Arts, and also the Department of Trade and Employment. So we are feeding, it's a bilateral quarterly forum where we bring the needs and wants of the digital creative industries. So we sit there along with IMERT, the games body, IDI, the Institute of Designers Ireland, and IAPI, the advertising body. And we bring the needs and wants, as I say, of the digital creative industries to the conversation with government. So issues like Section 481A, which was the extension to the tax incentive specifically created for games. So we would be advocating as the immersive technology sector that we would like that extension to also apply to the immersive industry, and that's part of the conversation. And the other important activity that's happening on that forum is to look at benchmarking the digital creative industries. So what is the value of the digital creative industries in Ireland? How many people are employed? All of those kind of macro metrics, if you like, because we know from the initial economic evaluation that we've carried out that the digital creative industries at least accounts for a similar economic value as agri-tech. So really significant value. So we want to really have the strong numbers and the methodology very strong on that. So that's going to be a body of work in the next calendar year.
Okay,
so and actually a bit of an idea. Yeah,
it certainly does, but also, quite topical. Obviously, you pick up any newspaper or look at any online publications at the moment, and invariably we're seeing headlines in relation to the upcoming budget. Is there anything, and I know you've just listed some of your members once, but is there anything specific if you had the minister's ear right now, is there anything specific that you would like to call on or that your members would like to call on in Budget 2026?
Absolutely, Cróna. Right now, at this moment, the only funding available specifically for immersive technology experiments, world building, art installations and interactive experiences is through Screen Ireland. So they have a Next Generation Innovation Fund that we've been supporting for the last 4 years, I believe. And currently that's the only dedicated fund for immersive technology activations. If you're an industry, and of course, if you're an Enterprise Ireland client or a Leo client, you can avail of supports to explore immersive technologies, AI, and other emerging technologies. But there's no dedicated fund for, say, prototyping, which is so key. So you have to see something in a headset and then iterate from there, rather than just having a regular tech spec like you might have for software or a mobile app. So it's really key that you see something quite early in a headset in terms of your concept.
Yeah.
And then if something is, you trial it, and then if there is obviously a route to market, and then you can look to scale that. So for example, in Northern Ireland, there's a prototype fund that can then go on to be scaled. And so we need that both on the creative industry side and the harder industry side, let's say.
Okay, great. And I'm sure yours will be a call, just one call among very many directed towards the minister over the coming days and weeks. But you never know. We live in hope. Let's talk a little bit about some of your members. Tell me a little bit about some of the innovations, what's happening. Obviously, I'd be particularly interested to hear about anything going on within the construction industry. But in a general sense, let's talk a little bit about your membership.
Yeah, brilliant. Following on from the kind of introduction or the history, let's say, of Airmersive, we were fortunate to be in recipients of core funding through Creative Ireland to support the roadmap, as I mentioned. So that's given us funding to formalise our network, which we did in September of last year. So we officially launched our network membership model last September. And now, as of today, very proud to say we have 45 paid members of our network. And they're predominantly the solution providers. So our kind of call to action last September was for the companies building the solutions, those creative studios all over the country, to come on the journey with us, and that we would support and spotlight their activities. So we do that on a daily basis. And we've also been very fortunate enough to have quite a few academic institutions approach us. So we built, out of necessity, a knowledge provider tier to support universities on this journey, to tie in with various departments for programmatic reviews, to see where augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality can be embedded within curricula, both from a teaching perspective and a skills perspective. So that's some of the kind of landscape, I suppose, of our membership. And then to look more specifically, so we're delighted to have Place Engage as one of our members. So they use augmented reality to see the built environment before it's built, which is an incredibly powerful use case. So the real differentiating factor with immersive technologies is the spatial nature of the visuals, the content, right? So we've had 3D 3D environments and 3D objects and 3D models for a very long time. But if you think about it, we've always experienced them through a 2D interface. So we were never in the spatial data. And that's the real clincher, I guess, with immersive technologies. It's what hooked me. It's what hooked most of the community, is the power of being in the spatial information. So I'm in, say, a 3D reconstruction of an environment. I can walk around it. So the 6 degrees of freedom aspect of walking around the 3D data is really important. We know the neuroscience clicks so that you believe that you are there. That's why they're called immersive mediums. So you believe that you're there. You're able to create false memories with training solutions that are carried out, say, in virtual reality. And that's incredibly powerful. So way more impactful. I think, some of the data shows 75% more impactful than video, let's say, for training. So, and we know that the retention is much stronger because it's experiential learning. Your brain believes that you're there and you're experiencing that. InnoVision is another great example.
Okay.
A similar use case focused on wind energy. So you can experience the scale, the size of wind turbines, both onshore and offshore within InnoVision solutions. So when I showed the demo that I have from InnoVision, I'm able to teleport out to an offshore wind turbine. I'm able to travel up to the top of it. I'm able to experience the scale of it. I'm able to look back at land and see what I can see, and then I can be on the land and see that actually it doesn't make that much of an impact on my visual view of, say, Sligo or Mayo, for example.
Okay. Wow, that's really, really interesting. Okay, I know you're at the moment working towards a huge event at the end of October. Prism is taking place. I think it's October 29th, if I'm right. Tell me, I suppose, first of all, what the event is for, who is it aimed at, you know, and what it's all about.
Sure. So important to say, we are a nation of storytellers. We are adept at building stories, and spatial storytelling is no different, I suppose, and building on the experience of film and screen and animation industries. So we have very strong storytelling in our DNA. And so a lot of our members are building storytelling experiences for tourism, for soft skills training, for entertainment, for the arts. And then because most of these companies are bootstrapping, if a client comes to you and they're maybe looking for a manufacturing training application, you know, it's the same game engine tools, you build the solution. So most of our studios are very diverse in terms of what they're building, who they're building it for. These are cross-cutting technologies, so they add value to pretty much any sector that you can think of. So we know from the data, the international research, that manufacturing, engineering, construction account for over 40% of the market share of immersive technology solutions. So the buyers of immersive technology solutions are predominantly in manufacturing, engineering, and construction. We want to drive the adoption of these harder industries in Ireland, primarily, but also, of course, spilling over to, not spilling over to the UK, but Northern Ireland. So this is an all-island event. So we want to really drive the adoption of immersive technologies powered by AI, powered by digital twins. We want to bring all of that knowledge and understanding and kind of activation energy, if you like, to Dundalk on the 29th of October. So what we're saying is, if you are in industry, you're maybe a chief innovation officer in a manufacturing or a construction SME, and you're wondering what's next and what's the value add. You know, maybe you've explored some immersive technology solutions, maybe you haven't, but you know that you want and need to, but you don't know where to start. This is the event for you. Okay. This is where we will demystify what is digital twins, how does it tie into immersive technologies, what is the value add of the convergence of these technologies that we're seeing at this point in time. So you hear digital twins and AI and immersive technologies. For us, that differentiating factor I mentioned about the spatial nature of the data and being in that. So imagine you're in a headset and you have a digital twin of your factory in there, and you're able to get real-time data, be it from robots or machinery, and that's feeding into your real-time training simulation. That's incredibly powerful. Okay. And then because it's in virtual reality, we have the deep metrics of where people are looking, for how long, what they're interacting with, how they're interacting with those objects. It's another level, I suppose, of personalized and training with deep metrics and deep understanding that will really add value to industry. So we've a lot of companies already experimenting or piloting various solutions, and a lot of those companies are going to be sharing how they're using, say, virtual reality for training. That's the National Broadband Ireland to be sharing what they're doing, and Decotech, the manufacturing company that build parts for cars, the outside of cars, and they're going to be talking about the work they've been doing with the Irish Manufacturing Research Centre. And then we do have Arup, who are the large construction companies. They're a member of Airmersive. They'll be demonstrating and also talking about how they're using XOR for construction.
Okay, great. And it's a day-long event, am I right?
It is. It is.
Okay. Beginning at, is it 9:30? It's
9:30, yeah. So kick off, tea, coffee. We know Dundalk, by the way, as a louds blow in local. Dundalk is just an hour from Dublin, folks.
Okay.
I go to Galway, I go to Limerick, I go to Cork all the time for events. So please don't feel that Dundalk is far. It's really not, and I can say that
Yeah.
now that I live very near there. It's really a hop, skip, and a jump from Dublin. So please don't be dissuaded. Dundalk is an unbelievable place to do business. We've got the Advanced Manufacturing Training Centre there in the Xerox estate. We have Creative Spark, which is the most significant fabrication fab lab in the whole of Ireland. So they're going to be there with their laser cutters, their 3D printers, and talking about that part of the ecosystem. So again, where all these machines are talking to each other and giving very meaningful data and real-time feedback. So, so Dundalk is a fantastic place to do business. Dundalk Institute of Technology have just been the most amazing partner, and the support that we've received from Louth County Council, Oriel Hub, which is co-working space there in Dundalk, has just been phenomenal.
Brilliant.
So we are very proud to be bringing this event, and we do aim for it to be a multi-annual commitment to the Louth region and to build capacity there.
Super. Okay. And just in terms of the format, so I think it runs from 9:30 a.m. until 4:30.
Yeah.
If I'm attending, am I going, just to, am I going to listen to some presentations on stage? Are there going to be kind of fireside chats? Will there be, presumably the nature of your industry, I'm going to be able to put on a headset and try out some pretty cool stuff in Dundalk on the 29th. Tell me about, like, is it because I'm not familiar with the building. Is it a large space? Are there, several kind of stands? How many, just give me a bit more feel for it, I guess.
Sure, I'm going to give you a really good feel for it now, because as an experiential learner myself, I like visuals and pictures.
Yes,
So,
yes.
great news is it's Reading Week at Dundalk Institute of Technology, so plenty of free parking for all of us
Excellent.
people driving. We'll kick off at about 9:30. We're delighted to have An Corliac of Louth County Council will open the event, and the president of Dundalk Institute of Technology following a tea and coffee. And then really, really delighted to bring Timmy Guerra, the very first time he's been to Ireland. So he's our international keynote speaker.
Oh, wow.
And fascinating individual. I recommend people to check out his TED Talk, where his original research was all relating to gaze in a headset and emotions. And then he brought all of that research. He did sell a startup to Facebook, which was used for sentiment analysis. And then he was in Volvo for a very long time as the head of innovation there. So he brought all of his belief in the power of spatial technologies and how they can be used to track how humans are responding. So he brought all of that to Volvo. He's now working closely with, he's based in Denmark, although he's Romanian, and he is bringing, he's working very closely with Denmark, the Danish government, and also the city of Copenhagen have a digital twin of their entire city. So he's going to be talking about that. And then we also have Thierry Harquin from Belgium, who's our other international speaker. And he's also going to be talking about the really large scale, significant digital twin projects that are happening in both Belgium and in France that he's working on with XOR Intelligence. So the morning is really that kind of global outlook, I would say, of who's doing what internationally. And then we get into Indigenous case studies. So we've got KUKA Robotics, DAA International, National Broadband Ireland, some of the ETBs who are really leveraging immersive technologies in significant ways. And so they are presenting. So we've got several lightning talks. And then we have, most importantly, 2 hours of dedicated time of immersive technology demos.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
we have 18 exhibitors, many of whom are our members. They're working with digital twin simulations, etc. And you're going to be able to talk to the makers, find out what they're doing, who they're doing it with, and what is the value add of those solutions. And you're going to get to be in a headset. You're going to get to kind of free roam around. You might have some conversations with robots. And there's definitely going to be lots of tech, lots of equipment, lots of robots, and just the ecosystem will be demystified, I suppose, and you'll get a really good sense. In the afternoon, from 2:30 to 4:30 is demystification session. So we want people who are not particularly technical and don't need to be, to really understand, the value add, as I said, of digital twin plus immersive technologies plus AI, and our partners in the Irish Manufacturing Research Centre, Digital Catapult and the Digital Twin Centre in Belfast, Northern Ireland, Queen's University, and I know I'm forgetting one of the, and Arup, the construction company. So we're going to have demystification sessions in the afternoon. So you'll come away all the wiser, and you'll know what to do next. So it's going to be very tangible. You're going to be gifted many assets in terms of like your XR readiness journey, and you're going to know where you're at and where you can go to next.
Okay. And before I will, of course, come back to tickets and all of that, but can I just, I suppose, take a little sidestep in terms of construction, or in terms of property and in terms of the built environment, for companies working within that space. First of all, I suppose, tell me in your opinion, where I suppose the value add of immersive technologies within that industry. That's one part of the question. And then the second part being, if I'm in that industry, regardless of whether I'm, starting to dip a toe into immersive technologies, or, I'm in the process, or further along, whatever stage I'm at, why should I be coming to Prism? But start first of all with kind of the value add to the industry.
Yeah, perfect. So there's several stages, I guess, again, because these are cross-cutting technologies where augmented reality and virtual reality add value to construction. So pre-visualization would be the first piece. So I talked about seeing the built environment before it's built. Massive value add to that. So once you have your model, your your environmental model, and maybe your building models in a spatial medium, then you can collaborate with stakeholders that might be remote, globally somewhere else. You can hone the design. You can even look at safety, health and safety and risk aspects to it as well, and identify potential challenges earlier. So there's massive, and there's quite a few case studies online. There'll also be case studies obviously shared at Prism, and we're also building a repository for the Airmersive website. So you'll really be able to see how the return on investment, let's say. Also, the cost is coming down significantly of exploring these solutions. So that's an important piece. And then once you have, I guess, that model, you can use it over time. So for, building assessments over time, for knowing where all the infrastructure is laid out. So, there was a really great video from Microsoft when it had the HoloLens device, and it showed a construction worker coming back to a site that had been built many years before and looking through the walls to see where all the infrastructure was in terms of like internet and pipes and water and all of that. So you can imagine just the cost savings of that, of knowing exactly and the precision of knowing where all of the infrastructure lies. And then, of course, training, as we've mentioned, especially for maybe hazardous kind of machinery or that. So using virtual reality to train, say, crane operators, or that I've actually trained as a crane operator myself in VR, and I did pretty well in the training. So I think I'm a qualified crane instructor. I have to see if it's QQI recognized. But it's really fantastic because you honestly feel like you are learning in the actual machine, and obviously it's completely safe.
Okay, great. Okay, and as I said, finally, Camille, tell me, if I want to attend, are tickets still available? How can I get my hands on them? What kind of capacity, maybe as well? It's maybe good to know what kind of capacity the venue has. Just all the ticket details.
Yeah, great. So as mentioned, it's in Dundalk Institute of Technology on the 29th of October. which is a Wednesday from 9:30 to 4:30. The venue is, and apologies, you asked this earlier and I didn't answer it effectively. So we have a large auditorium, tiered auditorium, really stunning. They just actually did a refurb of it last year. And so that's in the men's space in Dundalk in the Whitaker Theatre, but all of that's on the Eventbrite. So with its capacity of 250 people.
Okay.
And then the demo areas are adjacent to that. We've two large, they're actually engineering drawing rooms, and that'll be where lunch and the expo booths will be for that dedicated 2 hours sessions. And yeah, so tickets are on Eventbrite. We have promo codes through partners like Place Engage and Proptech, so you can avail of those discounts, which is a 30% discount, and also on Airmersive LinkedIn. Airmersive LinkedIn is the best way to follow what's happening with the event. All of our speaker announcements are there, and also the Eventbrite details all of the speakers and the agenda for the day.
Great. Well, listen, it sounds like it's going to be a really super event. So by all accounts, I think get your hands on tickets before they're all gone. It's been really great to speak with you today, Camille, and the very best of luck with the event and indeed with Airmersive into the future. And thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Proptech Hot Seat on iProperty Radio.